Hey, what's up guys? I'm Tony G. You're watching 1526 Barbecue, and today I'm going to teach you how to make these crispy pork belly burnt ends. Check it out. All right, so here's the piece of pork. Here's the piece of pork we'll be working with. It is pork belly or bacon with the skin still on. This is edible ink. You don't have to really worry about that. But the first thing you're going to want to do is poke a bunch of holes in the skin here. Now, if you have a meat tenderizer, this would be a perfect time to use it. I don't have one, so I'll just be poking it with a knife. So I'm going to use just the tip of the knife there. You don't want to go too deep. Just kind of poking some holes to let some of the air out later when we try to crisp this up so it can crisp up well. All right, now that this has been, you can see all the little holes. Hopefully you can see that on camera that I've poked into the skin here. It'd be better with the meat tenderizer. Again, I said that earlier. Looks like I missed a spot here. All right, so hopefully you can see all those little holes that we poked into the skin. That's gonna help crisp it up later. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is kind of dry this off. All right, you want a nice dry piece of pork belly. You don't want any of these juices that come out of the package with it. Okay, now my board's a little moist, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean up my board. Flap that down. All right, so if you have a lot of silver skin like I do, you can go ahead and try to remove some of that. And any extra trimmings there, you can remove that as well. Once you get a good piece of the silver skin, you should be able to peel most of it off. Maybe you hit a vein and you'll have to cut it off. But all right, so there's our trimmed pork. Now, the next step is we're gonna cube this guy up. Now you wanna think about a size of a cube that should fit into your mouth. I've seen a lot of videos, even some of my own videos actually, where we do pork belly burnt ends and I say 1 inch. I do think that's too big. So I'm gonna be going about 1/2 inch all the way across and then 1/2 inch this way. Now the trick here is you want to cut all the way through, but not through the skin layer, right? So you want to get your cut down, but not cut the skin. And with a really sharp blade, this should be pretty easy. And you don't have to go all the way to the skin. You just want to kind of open this up so that it can separate easily later and so you can put more seasoning in it. All right, so that's pretty good. Just be mindful of where the pork belly gets a little skinnier. You'll be closer to the skin there, so adjust your depth for that cut. All right, then we're gonna flip it 90 degrees and cut the other way. Okay, once you're done cutting it up, you should have something that looks like that. Nice and cubey, or cubed up piece of pork fat. Or pork belly, excuse me. I'm gonna trim this little part off here. All right, for seasoning today, I'm gonna mix up 2 rubs. I'm gonna go with a layer of my go-to favorite, which is sweet and smoky. You can pick that up pretty much at any store. And then I found this at my local Latin store, Bravo. It's Sazón Tropical, or tropical seasoning. It's basically a barbecue rub with about like 2 or 3 extra ingredients. So I'm gonna do a layer of both. And we're only going to do that on the meat side. We are not going to put any rub on the skin side of your pork belly. And while you're doing this, you want to go ahead and lift up so you can get seasoning within all those cuts. Now be careful. You don't want to pile it in there. You don't want to have a thick, like a blob of seasoning that doesn't bark up. So just go lightly inside all those grooves that you just cut. All right, that's the tropical seasoning, and I'll go ahead and hit it with some of my sweet and smoky, which I'm kind of running low on. Okay, so that's a good seasoned pork belly with a good amount of seasoning in between each cut. All right, we're gonna let this sit here and get to room temperature, a little bit while we heat up the grill. Hey, real quick before we go outside and look at the grill, I want to give a disclaimer on this Sazón Tropical. I'm guessing it has some yellow sort of dye in it because it completely dyed my hand yellow there. A little bit on the shaker hand, but mostly on my rub hand. So if you're going to use this, and I'll let you know at the end if it tastes good or not, but if you're going to use this, you may want to put gloves on. Otherwise, you'll have that. Okay. All right, all the initial steps are done. Now we have to go heat up our smoker. We're going to be cooking on some hickory pellets, and we're going to be smoking at 225 degrees. All right, the pit's up to 225. It's time to throw on our pork belly. Now I don't want that skin to stick to the grate, so I got some spray non-stick. I'm just going to put it there just as a precaution because, again, I don't want this to stick. Now, as I go to put my pork belly on, you'll notice that it did get a bunch of rub on the skin, and we didn't really want that. We want that skin to be dry. So I'm just going to pat that down with a paper towel. And I'm going to put it on the cutting board so I can do a better job here. I think the yellow dye that, accidentally was in my rub is actually going to be good on the skin. All right, so it's dry and free of rub. I'm going to go ahead and place it on the cooler side of my smoker. And we're going to let that sit for, 2.5, maybe 3 hours at 225. We'll come back and check on it in a little bit. Alright guys, so I'm not sure what really happened, but I lost a ton of footage of this video. So the pork belly stayed in the smoker for about 2 hours and 15 minutes for me. It may vary for you. What you want to look for to know that you're ready to pull it off the smoker is that bark has set, which means you can rub your finger against the bark or the rub and it doesn't just come off. Now once the bark has set, the next thing you're going to want to do is use the boat method, which is basically where you put your meat on top of aluminum foil and then you bunch up the aluminum foil all the way around the meat where the top is still exposed but the bottom makes kind of a dish. And in that boat you're going to want to add a stick of butter and a bunch of brown sugar. That butter and brown sugar is going to help you braise the pork belly so that way it's more tender. On top of your meat, once you've put your braising solution down and you've made your boat, you want to cover your pork belly with salt. This will help dry out the skin, which will make it crispier in the next steps. All right, the pork belly has been on the smoker in its bath of butter and brown sugar for about 1.5 hours now. I'm going to take it over to the sink, knock off as much of this salt as I can, and take it out of the boat. I'll be right back. All right, so I was able to get most of the salt off. There's still some on there. We're going to flip this bad boy over and expose the meat side. And now I have some of my barbecue sauce. This is just Sweet Baby Ray's, but you can use whichever sauce you'd like. I just watered it down a little bit so it's a little more liquid. And we're going to go ahead and baste that over top. All right, now this is going to go back on the smoker for another 30 minutes or so. All right, here we are after about 30 minutes or so on the smoker again. Most of that barbecue sauce is tacked up pretty well. We're going to go ahead and flip this over and have the skin side up and then pop this right into an oven on high broil so we can crisp up that skin. All right, so here we are. This actually took about 15 minutes. I wonder if you guys can hear this. So very crispy, most spots. This spot didn't really crisp up, but it started to blacken and I didn't want to burn it. But if you know how to get this type over here every single time, let me know in the comments how you do it, because I was hoping to get that across the whole thing. But it is mostly crispy, so that's good. We're going to put it on a cutting board and cut it up and give it a try. Okay, so with the crispy side down or the skin down, you can use our previously made cuts as our markers of where we're going to cut. You got to power through that skin. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Look at that. So you can serve this as a strip like this, or You can cut them into their individual cubes and try them like that. All right, so the kids wanted to try this one out. Go ahead, kids, try it out. Tell me what you think.
Oh, it's the. I don't know how to bite it.
That's the skin. Bite it. It's supposed to be crunchy.
I like it.
You don't like it? All right, we got one no and one yes. You like it?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing? I see the whole thing.
I mean, it's your life.
It's really crunchy.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
It's hard to eat. I don't know how to eat it. Yeah.
Don't like it at all.
Oh, that's good. It's like a pork rind.
Yeah, it's one of those.
All right, we saw what the wife and kids thought about it. Let's see what I think about it. I love that crunch. So there you go. You have your pork belly burn ends on the top. Nice layer of fat and that crispy skin. That is really good, guys. You might switch up the rubs a little bit, maybe switch up the sauce you use, but you definitely have to try this recipe out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.